Hey folks, welcome into another episode of the Jlambcast MMA Show. I got exciting news. For the first time ever, I've got a guest on the show. My brother, my podcast sensei, if you will, former SoundCloud rapper, filmographer, class of 2020 graduate of Sam Houston State University. Follow him on Instagram at IndianaJeff23. Without further ado, here's my brother Jeff. There he is. What's up, brother?
Hello. I'm about as much as a live stream guru as the Joshua Fabia guy.
Yeah, right?
So,
It's the school of self-aware, right?
yeah, we'll see how this goes.
We'll see how self-aware we are after this podcast.
Using magic and healing to send this over the internet.
Right. All right. So we had our first, the first UFC Fight Night post the Jacksonville pay-per-view, UFC 261. This show, not a lot of name value on it, but I do want to talk to you definitely about the main event itself with Jiri Prochazka versus Dominic Reyes. I know I probably butchered his name several times last episode, but he made me remember his name after this one, Jiri Prochazka.
Yeah, I think Daniel Cormier was saying he kept pronouncing it wrong. So I'm not even going to try. Just Yuri is all I'm going to say.
Jiri. But you know what? He made everybody take notice of who he is, his weird haircut, his funky style. I'm a huge fan of him. I mean, I was a huge fan in his debut. He faced former title challenger Volkan Ozdemir, who, if you remember, you just called out Daniel Cormier. He fought Daniel Cormier for the light heavyweight title and lost.
Yeah, I remember that. I saw that.
Yeah, annihilated Volkan Ozdemir and made it look easy. And I was like, a lot of people were like, well, maybe he's a little bit of a one-trick pony. But he came in against Dominic Reyes. Dominic Reyes' last two fights were for the light heavyweight title. He controversial decision lost to John Jones. A lot of people had him winning that fight. I had it pretty close, but I mean,
I'm on it that he won because
sure,
I don't know. John Jones was not.
The argument,
he didn't look good. So.
Yeah, the argument could go either way. And for
Houston, right?
What's that?
That was in Houston when they fought that one?
I believe so. Before
Yes.
We're all prior to the pandemic. Who knows as far as memory goes. But he had that, and then of course he lost the forfeited title from John Jones was Dominic Reyes versus champion Jan Blachowicz. And Jan Blachowicz tore Dominic Reyes' face up. So this was in every sense of the word that rebound fight for Dominic Reyes to keep him at the top of the division in that title challenger conversation. But Jiri came in and really worked Dominic Reyes over, and Dominic Reyes had his moments, and I'm sure you would agree with me on that one. But I'm interested to get your take on what you saw from Jiri and Dominic.
I don't know. I just thought he was. I don't know. To me, he kicked his ass. I don't know. I really just saw him with spinning elbow to the head, but I did. I guess see about a minute of them on the ground. He was dominating them on the ground, and then just when they got up, he just blasted them with that elbow, and that was really cool knockout.
Yeah,
as well.
Yeah, and Jiri. I think Jiri, his only fatal flaw at this moment is defense, which, I mean, I think by all intents and purposes, he is the next title challenger after the Jan Blachowicz and Glover Teixeira fight plays out. So I'm excited to see that fight. I need Jiri to develop a little bit of defense because that Polish power is unforgiving.
I think when I was watching the DC and Helwani show was saying that he was like just walking through all of his punches.
Yeah.
And what they were saying is that if he keeps doing that, by the time I guess if he does fight Jan next, then it won't really matter too much. But his chin's not going to last very long if he keeps fighting that way. And I guess it's not that big of a problem if he's fighting Jan next, because hopefully his chin didn't take too much damage during that fight and he just gets knocked out. But Dominic Reyes, I don't know.
Dominic Reyes packs power. I mean, he's no slouch in the power department.
See, I don't know much about Dominic Reyes either as far as history, but is he known as a knockout guy?
I mean, he has knockout power, but is he fully known? No.
From what I've seen of the ones that I really saw when I first really saw him was when he fought John Jones, and I don't necessarily remember any knockout any hard hitting to where it looked like Jones was in trouble that way. But I did notice that he and then in the other fights I didn't really notice that he hit any guys with anything that like put him in trouble. So
no, I mean he definitely packs some power in his kicks. And that was evident in this Jiri fight too. But yeah, I mean, he's more of a pick you apart any way that he can, whether it be with power, with accuracy. I mean, he's gonna throw everything at you, and I mean, they're light heavyweights. I mean, if you can't pack power at 205, then
yeah, I'm sure he can knock. I'm sure he can, but I didn't know if he was known for that or not.
No, I wouldn't say on the level of Tiago Maheta Santos or Glover Teixeira even. You know, those are the guys in our current champion Jan Blachowicz. Like, you know, those guys can just flatline people. And I'm sure Dominic Reyes can have his moments too, but it's not in that upper echelon of power punchers.
Yeah, well, when they were talking about that might be like one of the things that does him in if he does fight Jan next, that not only that his chin may be damaged from fighting that way, but just because that if you get hit by Jan, you're probably going to get knocked out. And if he's not defensive enough, then that could be what happens in that.
Well, I've got a crazy question for you here. So
what?
say Jan gets through Glover, and it sets up this title fight with Jiri Prochazka, and Prochazka ends up winning. Jiri wins it. Do you think that's enticing enough for John Jones to rethink this whole move up to heavyweight and come back down? Because that, with the performance that I saw from Jiri, to see him versus a John Jones would be a massive draw.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think he's coming back down now that he's gained all that weight, but I also don't think that he would fight him for less, even though Francis Ngannou, he wants a lot of money for that one. I just don't think I don't think he's going to go down and take an even lesser one. I think he wants to fight for money, but I'd still like to see him versus Jan now. I think that's worth it. Just the way he defeated Reyes the last time, it was he beat him more convincingly to me than John Jones beat Reyes. Like
100% agree with you on that one.
Yeah, so that's what I think. If Jan didn't do it, I don't know how much more the other guy, because I feel like if they do fight, it's probably going to go all 5 rounds. I don't see, unless what DC and Ariel were saying is that just his fighting style of just pushing forward gets him knocked out. I feel like it would go all 5 rounds if he fought Jan.
Oh, absolutely.
Are they both Swedish too? Are they both?
No, Jiri is from the Czech Republic, and
Jan is
from Poland.
Swedish.
The same
as
Joanna Jędrzejczyk and
the Polish power
and Valentina Shevchenko, right?
Oh, really?
Isn't Valentina Shevchenko from Poland? I could be way wrong on that one. I don't know. No, maybe it's not Valentina, but I know.
No, she was speaking.
That girl she speaks 8 languages. So
okay, well, it sounded like she was speaking Spanish in the last fight, and I was like, is she from somewhere with the last name Shevchenko?
No, she could speak. She could probably speak Russian. She could probably speak Polish.
Oh,
I guarantee she's very well versed.
Yeah.
Like she amazes me every time she gets on a microphone. She could talk with anybody. So.
Okay, that might be why, because she was in Miami speaking Spanish. That's
But
probably
yeah, back to the John Jones Yuri. Okay, so I 100% agree with you. I think John Jones has planned this out to move up to the heavyweight division with no eyes of coming back because, in his eyes, I think he even said it that he's ran through everybody, right?
Yeah.
And so he's up for new challenges up at heavyweight. And the Ngannou thing, that's gonna be tough sledding. I already know that. But if John Jones in his prime versus what we saw from Yuri, and I think that's why the message boards are blowing up with saying, hey, maybe this will bring John back to the light heavyweight division. I'm with you on that one. I don't think it happens, but that would be a dream fight, a dream matchup because of the way Yuri moves, the way he attacks, and the way John Jones systematically picks a person apart. Like that would be a very interesting fight to see. But
yeah, I don't know if you remember too that John was at Jan's fight, maybe versus Dominic, but he was at one of his fights when he was going, and then he just decided not to do it. So I don't know. I just don't think he's going to go fight him.
Yeah,
which would be cool because he's scary looking. That weird tomahawk like thing on his head, which doesn't even look like it should be legal either. Like you could hit somebody in the eye with that thing or something.
Well, like the Muay Thai kickboxers from Thailand, whenever they get into the ring, they wear I'm going to disrespect them so bad, but it's like a headdress with like a tail in the back. And I think Yuri had talked about bringing back a purity to martial arts of bringing it to the public, and that's why he's in the UFC. And I'm interested in his story. I want to see him on a pay-per-view. I want to see how much they go into his background and his history and stuff like that. But that haircut is part of that homage to the Muay Thai. But also, also this guy turned down an opportunity to fight for the UFC several years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he felt like he wasn't ready. He wasn't going to come to the UFC until he was at peak form and felt like he could just come in and just dominate everybody. And guess what? It's paid off for him. Like who can you think of that has actually turned down the UFC because they're not ready? I've seen fighters turn away from the UFC because they don't like the UFC. Ben Askren, Jake Paul, Snake Paul.
Yeah.
But Ben Askren for a while, but
eventually. Oh, is that why? I thought they just weren't interested. He turned them down because he wasn't ready.
They were no. I mean, it wasn't that he wasn't ready, but Ben Askren just didn't want to deal with the UFC. I mean, that's the only other like. The UFC is the pinnacle of mixed martial arts. I mean, you see tons of fighters that come way too soon just because they want to take their chance and throw their chance. Like this guy's a different breed because he turned them down. Mm-hmm. And that's what amazes me. Like that's
he's only had like 2 fights, right, in the UFC?
2 fights against 2 former title challengers and just wowed us all in both of those fights. Like, so, I mean, is he ready for a title fight? You're damn right he is. I mean, there's no doubt about that, especially after what we saw Saturday. Because he got taken through some deep waters with Dominic Reyes. Reyes hit him with some hard shots. He took him down. Yeah, and Yuri got it done. And he looked the fresher fighter all throughout. He looked the harder hitter. He was better at the movement. And Reyes was known for having great footwork and great movement in there. And that's why he got that title shot against John Jones, deservedly.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Where was he at before the UFC?
I believe it was Ryzen.
Oh, okay.
Ryzen, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw today that he had those 2 fights, and I don't think I've seen those either. But
he has 3 losses on his records. 2 of those losses were very early. The other one was, I think, I can't remember. I think it was like 2015, 2016. He fought a guy named King Mo. I don't know if you're familiar with King Mo from Bellator fame. But he fought him.
Sounds familiar, but I don't know.
Muhammad Lawal, also known as King Mo. Fought him, and it was pretty early in his rising days, and he lost. But I mean, just dominated everybody since then. So the level of maturity that he has right now, and just the entire package, like he did it his way, and he's come into the UFC feeling like he is the next big thing, and I believe it. And I'm excited to see where it goes from here. So, any final thoughts on that? Are you ready to move on?
We can move.
Let's move on.
I didn't have much for that one anyway.
All right. So we were supposed to have a really big fight night from the UFC this Saturday. We were supposed to see the return of TJ Dillashaw versus Corey Sandhagen.
Yeah, that sucks. I wanted to see that.
That fell apart. TJ Dillashaw ended up with a really bad cut. Hope it gets better. Maybe he can use some of that, whatever he used to cut all the way down to face Henry Cejudo. Maybe can speed up the process to get him better. But we'll see. And then the other fight we were supposed to see, and I was really excited about this fight, was Donald Cowboy Cerrone. I'm a huge fan of Cowboy. have been ever since his WEC days, ever since his Affliction days. Have been a fan of Cowboy. Was geeking out on this fight because he was fighting Diego Sanchez, and watching the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, the very first Ultimate Fighter holds a very huge place in my heart, and there's a reason why I'm a huge fan today, because of Forrest Griffin and Stephan Bonner and Diego Sanchez on that first season. I mean, that was just it engulfed. It was everything that the UFC needed it to be to go mainstream, and Diego was a huge part of that. And this was going to be his final fight, his swan song. Against Donald Cowboy Cerrone. Not an easy fight for either guy. Former teammates. They had a little bit of bad blood because they were at Jackson Wink MMA together. Cowboy Cerrone had a falling out with the gym, and he left and went and started the BMF Ranch, and has enjoyed success since doing that, but left with some bad blood, and I guess, according to Donald Cerrone, that Diego had a lot to do with that. So he had, not a lot to do with him leaving, but the after effects, the bad feelings afterwards. So, So fast forward to now, we're last week, we're a week before fight week, and Diego just quickly gets cut from the UFC. And then as we progress throughout the week, we start finding out that it was actually Joshua Fabia, the what would you call him, a manager or
spiritual healer and manager. He calls himself the I don't know, just overall manager of Diego, but yeah.
So
what's weird is that for this fight, I was paying attention to the whole thing because I bought that pay-per-view, and then they were leading into this. I didn't even hear about the Cowboy fight until you told me. I don't know how I missed it. So I thought that was weird that it wasn't that much press. And then literally the same day that I think you told me it got stopped because I guess of what was going on in the fighter meeting. Or the aftermath of the fighter meeting.
Lots of drama. I think the fighter meeting happened, and I know what you're referencing to. Diego Sanchez and Joshua Fabia are leaking videos. Go to Diego's Instagram. You'll see him up there. I think you told me that Joshua Fabia's website has some of the videos. We can get into that in place.
Not of those videos, but some other ones I want you to see.
Oh, you want to see them?
Yeah, you'll like those.
But okay, so one of the ones the fighter meeting that you were talking about, I think this was back at UFC 253. I want to say it was.
I thought it was before this one. It was at UFC 253. I thought it was the fighter meeting leading up to this one, or at least the one I saw. But I could be wrong too.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure when it was, but I saw the video, and he's talking to John Anik, he's talking to Megan O'Leary, and he's talking to Paul Felder's in the room. And the first half of this, I would say the first 3/4 of this thing seems very cordial. You know, they're asking their questions back and forth.
Diego, yeah.
To
Diego
was holding himself as a professional fighter, and he was maintaining himself very, very well. And it wasn't until Joshua Fabia jumps in and almost seemed like he made it about himself. Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my opinion of what I watch every time I watch a Joshua Fabia video, is that every time that he comes into the picture, he makes it about him. His person. What'd you say?
I said you'll like those videos then on his website.
It's just like he wants to take over the room. He wants everybody to respect him. And you know, a lot of times with younger fighters, and you hear this all the time, that there are just bad people that come in and take advantage of young fighters and lead them in a wrong direction. You know, I would have never thought in a million years that I'd have this opinion about, you know, a future UFC Hall of Famer in Diego Sanchez. You know, not just because of his fights, but I mean, his overall resume is going to make him a Hall of Famer. I think he's in the Hall of Fame for fight with Clay Guida or something like that.
He should be just for winning the Ultimate Fighter, right?
Should be for winning the Ultimate Fighter, but
that would probably just be enough.
His whole
that was the first one.
Sure, his whole body of work. I mean, he's stuck around this long. I mean, we're talking, what, 2005 was the very first Ultimate Fighter. Mm-hmm. We're talking 16 years later. You know, 17 almost. Yeah. So, I mean, his whole body of work. Like, this guy's been around the business, so I'm sure he's seen those shady characters. So for this guy, Joshua Fabia, which no disrespect. I'm just going off of what I see. What's being put out there right now.
All the press, that's the thing. Like, I get why, because they want to, I don't know, be professional and tell the story. But they honestly, by just not shutting this guy down, gives him more, I don't know, in his mind, more legitimacy is what I see. I don't know if you saw the Luke Thomas interview. Did you see that? That was just today. I watched that.
I haven't seen the Luke Thomas interview, but I do want to. I like Luke Thomas, and I want to see. I want to see what that entails, because that.
Well, to me, I was a little disappointed, but there's two parts to that, because you can watch the reaction video where Luke takes responses, and he has a reason for doing this. But to me, watching it, he's basically letting Josh Fabia talk in it, but like 90% of what the dude's saying is complete, like, just bullshit, and doesn't give a correct answer, but he never nails him down on that. He's just like, oh, okay. There's maybe like one or two times where he tries to.
And that's not necessarily Luke Thomas's fault. I mean, it's his show, it's his brand. You bring somebody on and they make themselves look stupid. That's not.
That's right. That's kind of what he was trying to do. But at the same time, it's like, that's the whole reason why this guy's getting away with it a lot, is because everybody takes that little passive. But since nobody cares about me, I'm going to say he's a piece of shit. So.
Well, I agree with you. And I've seen it play out too many times that he says that he's there to make it about Diego. But when he goes to make it out for Diego, he ends up making it about himself.
I think that's exactly what Luke Thomas said about this interview too, is like, he just made it completely about himself.
Yeah, and what I saw with that, with the fighter meeting, number one, they videotaped the whole thing of the fighter meeting, and at one point, Paul Felder was about to get up and whoop this motherfucker's ass.
That was really. All he said is, "I don't know what the fuck you're talking about."
I was rooting for this to happen, but they conveniently cut off right about the time that John Anik comes in, and John Anik is a very smart analyst, commentator for the UFC. Very smart, very articulate, very intelligent guy. Is about to lead into this. I would be very interesting to hear how that conversation went.
Yeah, I'd like to see the rest. I was like, oh man.
It cut off and you were like,
it's a long video though, but still I wanted to see what he was about to say.
But I mean, in your opinion, anything that you've seen from Diego lately? I mean, Diego's taken some hard losses. He's had some victories here and there, but I mean, at this point in his career, people talking about him hanging it up. Like, you've been in the business 16 years. You've been in the UFC 16 years. Like, I don't think that the commentators, they have a responsibility to point that out. Yeah, I don't find that as disrespectful. If somebody's reaching the end, hell, Cowboy Cerrone has lost 4 of his last 5 fights. Another fighter, like, I love him to death, but
Tyron Woodley got cut with just in the same boat, I guess.
Yeah,
it was
right. Tyron Woodley, same thing. I mean, we just reach a certain point with these guys where, you have to start talking about, have they lost a step? Have they, is this that downward spiral? Should they hang it up? I don't see that as disrespectful. I think that's responsible reporting, which we don't get enough of that in today's media.
To me, I don't think I've seen, honestly, any of Diego's fights up until he's been being coached by this guy. But to me, ever since I've seen him, he's been really terrible. And I'm assuming winning the Ultimate Fighter, he had to be really good for a little while at least. But from what I've seen, he's been really terrible. He looks like one of those guys that shouldn't be in there. And then part of the reason why this guy is so angry, or I guess one reason why he got cut too, is that he was wanting Diego's medical records. And it's because supposedly, from his words, half of Diego's face is numb or something from fighting.
Yeah.
And to me, seeing Diego, I haven't seen many of his interviews either. I know from that one, he seemed like he articulated everything and he still speaks well and everything like that. But as far as fighting ability, he's looked terrible and just has won by chance, and which is weird because he was getting beat in most of those matches. So
yeah, and he's had he beat Mickey Gall recently. I mean, he took a nasty KO a couple years ago from.
I think I saw that one.
Yeah, he took a nasty KO from Matt Brown. That was like 2017. He did beat Michelle Pereira, but only by an illegal knee. But yeah, I mean, the last victory would be Mickey Gall. But
did Michelle illegal knee him?
Yeah, Michelle Pereira illegally.
And that one, he was getting his ass whooped too, right?
Yeah,
he looked really terrible.
Yeah, so I
remember seeing that one.
3 fights in a row that he hasn't looked, but he's also faked. Pereira, I can't pronounce it in Portuguese. But yeah, I mean, this guy is an awesome fighter. Just full of energy, full of movement, and just made a stupid decision to got the illegal knee. But he also faced Jake Matthews, which is another name in the division, and then Michael Chiesa. I mean, 3. I wouldn't call him bottom feeding cars. He's not taking bottom feeder fights. Mm-hmm. These are fighters that have some name value and have some recognition within that division. That he was taking those fights again. But again, 3 fights in a row where you don't look good, of course they have to make those comments about you.
But also not at a level anywhere near of before that.
Right.
And just got worse as being coached by this.
And here's what I view Diego now. That fringe top 15 gatekeeper. the gatekeeper for the division. You know, you hear that term thrown around. It's that, you know, that old wily vet, you know, kind of like a Clay Guida, you know, that old wily vet. Hey, I'm going to send this young guy in to see what he does against this animal. Like that was Diego for the past couple years, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, but of course, like, you know, back to Fabia and his weirdness. Like, we've seen weird coaches before. I mean, you remember McGregor's movement coach in the heyday of McGregor.
In the park, was that?
Oh yeah, the one that had him like humping lampposts, you know, in the park, and like that's supposed to help him win his double champ status, and apparently it did. But that was some weirdness, you know. It's not like we haven't seen that before, but this guy is just Fabia is just next level, you know, arrogance, and
He's like half cult leader without any following besides what's his name, and then half spiritual healer, half chiropractor, half like whatever he's calling his self-awareness, but which also is funny is what DC says. What DC says is the least self-aware guy ever.
Yeah, I agree. I think Matt Serra would agree. They had a confrontation at UFC 253 Fight Island back in October, I think it was, where you know, he approached. I don't know if you ever got to watch that video. That was freaking hilarious. Matt Serra, Matt Serra, who already is funny as hell anytime he talks. This guy, Fabia, comes up to him and is like, "You're talking trash about me." He's like, "I don't know who the fuck you are." But
I need to go back and watch that one.
But it's great. You know, I mean, this guy has just rubbed everybody the wrong way. And I think that it has become toxic for Diego Sanchez, Diego's relationship with the UFC, which I think before Diego came along, you know, they had a great relationship. Or before Fabia came along, they had a great relationship.
Yeah, that's supposedly what's been said.
But, you know, like I said, there's certain people, and they normally latch on to the inexperienced fighters, the young fighters. But those guys they ruin careers. And I think, you know, Joshua Fabia is a black mark on a great legacy of Diego Sanchez. Plain and simple. I mean, I don't know any other way to put it.
All right.
I'm going to pull up. This is just a weird picture to see anyways, but
I don't know if on your end, are we frozen?
No, we're not frozen.
Okay, on my end, we're frozen. So
okay. No, we're good.
Okay.
Can you see the screen?
No.
Okay.
It's frozen.
All right. Well, I'm showing a picture of Joshua Fabia and Diego Sanchez on a bed, shirtless. I'm assuming it's between a weight cut, but Joshua Fabia kind of has the face that could pull off being a cross-dresser. I'm just going to throw that out right now.
Well, I kind of see it now. Yeah. Oh, God. It's like frozen, like midway of that picture.
Is it? Oh.
It honestly looks like me and P-Cash. Well, I want you to go to his website real quick because he was plugging this.
Okay.
He kept telling Luke Thomas, "Go to my website and you'll see. Go to my website and you'll see." And so is
it the School of the Self-Aware?
School of Self-Awareness Worldwide.com. And the image, there's a video, and I guess everybody else could go to this. I'm going to plug him again, which he probably doesn't need it, but School of Self-Awareness Worldwide.com. Are you on that yet?
I'm pulling it up right now.
Okay, because we're still lagging on my end of the stream. But if you go there, Tell me when you're there.
Oh my God! As seen on ABC, Fox, CBS, and NBC. No.
Yeah,
shit.
I don't know what the hell he's talking about that.
Okay.
That video that's in the middle is really terrible. For one, okay, then go to the School of Self-Awareness Method. You see that?
Okay.
Go to healing.
Healing.
This video is really terrible, and this will show you him getting in his little massage techniques. But I want you to go to about 102.
102.
In that, you can just
Do I need to
scroll
play
through the video.
Do I need to play sound?
No.
Okay.
I just want to paint the picture for you real quick. Go to 103. Then I'm going to have you scroll to like, where is it? I think it's like, actually, you know what? Just go to 413 real quick.
413. Okay.
Yeah, go to 413. And now you see him naked.
I see.
It doesn't show anything, mind you, so you're not going to get blocked. But you just see him sitting there meditating naked. You can kind of see his dick root right there, just a little bit pudgy. But yeah, that's what all these videos consist of, and that's what he's going to have you do if you join his little School of Self-Awareness. He's going to have you meditating, maybe doing hot yoga with him.
You know what this shit reminds me of? Have you ever seen like they were probably on Vine. I think it was like YouTube, but like the guy that could like use forced energy to like put.
That's exactly what that is.
It looks like that.
Well, if you see some of his techniques, I think there's some. I think on Joe Rogan, he played like him doing some kind of dodging technique. And I think in that Luke Thomas interview, he actually brings that up, and he's like, "You're taking it out of context. That's for guys who aren't professional MMA fighters." And it's like, I think if anybody does that, it's ridiculous. And Luke Thomas didn't call him out for that. There's no, like, I don't know. I'm nowhere near any fighting experience or anything like that, but I can tell you that it ain't that.
Oh, but you trained at Brazos Valley MMA. Shout out to Brazos Valley MMA. You trained there for a little bit. It's all right.
Combined of about 6 months in the cardio kickboxing class.
There you go. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
No.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I don't know if you're still on his route, but
no, I can't watch that shit no more. It's God, it's weird. It's weird. Like,
well, if you read through that whole website, I like did a deep dive because we were going to talk about it, and there's so many like, I don't know. He like Luke Thomas asked him what are his credentials, and he couldn't say anything. And he just kept plugging this website and saying, just go look, you'll see. Well, on there's no validity there either. There's no explanations of anything.
And that's I mean, we heard the same thing about that Conor McGregor's movement coach. Like, what are his credentials when it comes to MMA? He didn't have any. But I mean, you know, when I first heard of Joshua Fabia, you know, I first heard that Diego left Jackson Wink MMA. Where is he gonna go? He landed with some guy named Joshua Fabia. I was like, all right, well, what other fighters does he have? He had none.
Actually, I think I can't remember if it was on the DC Juani or Luke. I think it was on that one. He's supposedly another fighter who has fallen in his trap. But I think it's because in this situation with Diego, one, in my opinion, which I don't really know, but I think he probably has some sort of brain damage. And when this guy came into his life, he was going through a divorce. And so I think it was like one of those things where he was probably at a low point in his life. They said this too, but he was probably at a low point in his life. This guy was there for him. Whatever bonds that create, it did. But also I think a little bit is Diego, probably has brain damage. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you're in a violent sport. Like everybody's going to have brain.
Everybody's going to have it,
sure.
but I think him being there for a long time and just to me seeing his fights, he probably has some, and I don't know. I just don't think him probably being in his prime would have ever gave this guy time of day, but I think where he's at now.
Yeah, certain events can happen in your life, be it a divorce, some nasty losses. You couple all of those together, and you set up that real down in the dumps, that victim mentality, and the school of self masturbation or whatever this shit is called. He comes in and says,
"It ain't gonna be by yourself. He's gonna do it.
I'm gonna pull you in a sauna. I'm gonna jerk you off. It's gonna be healing." But
yeah.
Fabia comes in as like, "Oh, I'm a healer, and I know what you've gone through, and I've seen what you've gone through, and I'm here to heal you." Well, when you're down in the dumps and you feel like you've hit rock bottom, to have a savior come in like that, you're gonna follow him blindly. Yeah. And you're not going to be able to see the light of day. It's like that rebound bang after you break up. It's like, oh yeah, and you think it's so great, and you think you're in love again, and you feel reinvigorated, and this rebound thing is just not what you thought it would be. It rears its ugly head. So
I think that's something that's going on between these two guys, and then I think that other fighter too. I never heard of that guy's name, but to me, I kind of feel like one, having Diego, but you should see all the media talking about how this guy has like zero validity, and just Diego's fights while he's being coached